everyone, I'm Joey.
Hi everyone, I'm Dylan.
Today we are going to discuss about the 7th plot of land in the new Lentor Township, which is our Lentor Gardens residences.
And also one thing that we want to highlight also is that the launch day of Lentor Garden Residences is already confirmed. It's on the 4th of July.
4th of July.
Booking date will be on
18th of July.
18th of July.
So today I also went to see the show flat for the architect briefing. It was really nice. We can go down to the show flat and have a look once the preview is open.
Okay, so before we go into the main thing, we want to discuss what are we going through today in terms of our analysis video. First thing first, of course, we always talk about the location and the project info. More importantly, today what we want to share is also some of the bigger concerns that buyers are having in today's market. Of course, I think number one is that there is the 7th plot in Lentor already.
People are still thinking like 7th plot of land already, still can buy man over there, so many supply.
So many units left over there. There's so many units that's going to come out in future and now existing also. Next, of course, is the land price, because there's another land bought by Guaco, right? Another land bought by Guaco at a higher price. So we want to understand whether or not if today, this land that bought by Kingsford at 920 PSF, will they launch cheaper or what kind of pricing are they looking at? And of course, most important thing that we found out today is we want to understand how does a certain developer price their units, because different developer price their units differently. We can make use of this towards an advantage so that we know what you need to select and what you need to buy when we go into the launch itself.
And most importantly, also determining what is the safe entry price to enter into our Lentor Gardens, being the 7th plot of land already.
And also the last one definitely is we want to understand whether or not in that location, whether are you buying for rentability or were you buying for profit? Because a lot of clients are asking us that over there, you want to rent because there's a lot of supply units. Is it very hard to rent? Is it very hard to get a good tenant in future? So without further ado, we will run through the details of the project.
So Lentor Gardens Residences is actually a 3 blocks with 16 story and also 1 block of 8 story. So the 1 block of 8 story is all 3 bedroom, and then we also have 3 units of 2 strata terraces and also 3 shops below. So the 3 shops is about 43 square meter and 1 childcare center right below.
So total we have 499 units.
So this is the location of the Lentor. We are very close to our Lentor MRT station, and then this is the 7th plot. So we have a few plots over here. So this is the 7th plot on this side.
Also, one thing to note is that the upcoming plot is above Lentor,
Somewhere here.
but there will be still other plots coming out as well, right?
Yeah, there will be 2 more plots coming up. So this will be the location. We are along the Thomson East Coast line. And the site plan for this development, so this is the entrance going in. We have a 50 meter plus a 75 meter pool over here. So this is the 8 story and these are the 16 story. So this 8 story over here are all the 3 bedrooms. Mainly the 2 bedrooms are all in the middle. And then the corner ones are all my bigger unit types itself. This part will be facing towards our Hilllock Park. And this will be the entrance coming in.
So one thing to highlight for this site plan, right? If you see this block here is 16 story and this block here is actually 8 story. So what we want to see is actually this block, when it's above 8 story, you can actually clear to have also a quite unblocked view. And one more important thing that we want to highlight is that if you look at the facilities in terms of the pool, Kingsford normally does quite good facility. If you see the way that they built the whole facility, actually is very luxurious, very resort style feel.
Actually, from the architect briefing today, they did mention that they like to have a lot of pool because they think that water is luck over there. That's why their developments always got a lot of swimming pools.
So maybe you buy that also, you have very good luck.
Yeah, okay.
So before we enter into our main analysis for today, this is our WhatsApp and our Telegram community. So do scan. If any questions you have, do come back to us and chat with us with regards to Lentor Garden Residences. So without further ado, the first question that we have, or the first concern, is that now in Lentor is already the 7th plot. Still, is it a good buy because of the overall supply of units in the certain location?
This will be the map for our Lentor collection. The first one that comes out in this area was actually Lentor Modern. Lentor Modern is a mixed development whereby we are having shops downstairs and also directly linked to the MRT. So MRT is just right below as well. The second plot is Lentor Hills, then Hilllock Green, followed by Lentoria, Lentor Mansion, Lentor Central, and then now our 7th plot will be Lentor Garden. So from Lentor Mansion onwards, right, it's actually harmonized project. So from this Lentor Mansion, Lentor Central, and Lentor Gardens onwards, these are all harmonized project. But the main key thing is that this area here is divided into 2 categories. The 2 category is actually the
Seller stamp duty.
Seller stamp duty for 3 years over here. So these are all my 3 years SSD followed by this one, the government changed to 4 years seller stamp duty.
So why we want to talk about this seller stamp duty? Because this will determine your selling time frame and whether or not is there an oversupply in the whole Lentor region as well. Because when we understand this clearly, we can also know how to time our sale if we were to buy into Lentor Gardens residences. So the latest government ruling that it was released on the 4th of July 2025 was the seller stamp duty was increased from 3 years to 4 years. So we want to understand how does this seller stamp duty actually affect us or benefit us in terms of our purchase towards Lentor Garden residences. So if we look back at the whole Lentor collection again, this whole area, all the previous projects, these are all affected by the 3-year seller stamp duty. And Lentor Garden will be affected by the 4-year seller stamp duty. So why we want to know this is because we want to also clearly time our exit if we were to buy into Lentor Garden residences, right? So now let's take a look at the clearer picture of each individual project. We break it down clearly for you guys to see all the different projects in the Lentor region, that when are they launched and when will they be able to sell. So you can see from Lentor Modern all the way to Lentor Central Residences, if we look at their launch dates, most of them are from 2022 to 2025. And if you see their end date will be also 2025 all the way to 2028.
Because these are the 3 years SSD.
So why we want to understand this is also because we want to clearly time our exit, or whether or not today when we buy Lentor Garden residences, is it still a good time to sell when all these projects are all coming out together. So the key thing to take note over here is that the last project in the Lentor collection is at March 2028 for Lentor Central Residences. So now we look at Lentor Garden residences. Launch date, like what we mentioned just now, is on 4th July. Booking date will be about 18th of July. So if we count 4 years later, we are looking at around July 2030 before any units can be sold in Lentor Garden residences.
That means 2030 onwards, then got units from Lentor Garden starting to come out and sell because their SSD is 4 years.
And also for the next plot of land that is bidded by Guaco Land, right, is estimated based on what we calculated around Q2 2027. So if it really launches during Q2 2027, we are looking at Q2
2031
to sell their
market,
units. So now the main question is that from just now what we mentioned, Lentor Central Residences SSD end date at March 2028, there will be a gap of around 2 years plus before Lentor Garden Residences can sell their units. So the key question here today is we want to see in these 2 years, can I say there will be a very high chance all the existing units that are being sold by the previous projects like Hillock would have already been sold. So what are the balance units that will be sold in these balance projects?
Maybe those bigger, more expensive, the higher price one.
The higher price units will be normally at this point of time. So the question is, when you sell Lentor Garden residences at that point of time, firstly, you will be competing with these people. But also because of these higher price units, generally it will help us to push up the prices for ourselves as well. And the next thing is like what Joey mentioned is the layout also. So in Lentor Garden residences, there will be different layouts, different sizes that we have to be very careful so that we know which are the layouts that we can enter with easier chance to exit going forward. So the key thing that we want to bring across is at this period of time, there will be no new supply entering into the Lentor collection area. So if you are worried that there is a chance that you might be stuck with all the units there, this is something that it's not as strongly important as compared to other locations that all of the units are TOP together, or in a certain development that has like 2,000 units that one shot TOP. This will not be the main concern of what we are facing in the Lentor collection for Lentor Garden residences.
And some more for this Guaco Land, right, because their SSD will end in 2031, there will be another 1 year gap before they can sell into the open market. So for this Lentor Gardens residence, right, we have another 1 more year to clear the stocks in the supply.
So if you want to sell, a favorable time to sell would be during July 2030 all the way to probably around Q2 of 2031.
So does lower land price equates to lower selling price? Because a lot of agents would have been telling you that, hey, this developer bought in at a lower price, the next one bought in at a higher price, this developer may sell very cheap.
But it may and may not be. Why I say that is because today, if you know what are the prices in the Lentor area and you are a developer and you already know the transaction prices, will you want to sell cheap? Let's say, for example, now you know that there's another plot of land over there that is already bidded at 1278 PSF and you are buying at 920. Will you definitely sell cheap?
No.
Actually, we really don't know. We really don't know as well. But if you want to understand more, how does the land price versus your selling price in terms of the developer purchase price, you can refer to our Hudson Place video that we did an analysis there to really understand whether or not today, if a developer buy cheap, will they really sell cheap? Or whether or not a developer, if they buy very expensive, will they really sell expensive as well? That is another part of analysis that we do. So you can refer there if you want more information. But more importantly, what we want to understand over here is that for Lentor Central that was bought by Guaco Land, their land price that they bought was 1278 square foot per plot ratio. So the question that we are asked ourselves is that today when we have a neighboring project that is about around 350 PSF bought higher in terms of land price, they have to maintain a certain break-even price as well as a certain selling price. So importantly is that we also want to understand today we already have a good protection in terms of the price that Kingsford actually bought in over here. So ultimately what we want to understand is not whether the land price they bought is cheap or expensive, but the more important thing to really know is how does a developer price their unit, their pricing strategy, and how they behave when they are launching their development. From there, you can really understand clearly what are the units that you should be buying and what type of timing you should be going into the development itself. So for that, because this development is bought by
Kingsford.
So we want to understand clearly how does actually Kingsford behave in terms of their pricing.
So what is the developer behavior? So for this Kingsford, they have done projects like Chuan Park. They also have done projects like
OMG, One Marina Garden.
So Normanton Park was also done by them. So this developer, they have the tendency to increase price on the launch day itself. Because for example, in Chuan Park, during that day, they increased 5 times on the launch day itself. Why? Because there's a lot of interest in the market during that time. And then usually our preview was like 2 weeks. So this one they cut short because it's too many people already. We were oversubscribed. We only have 900 plus units and then there's 3,000 plus checks put in for this Chuan Park at that point of time. So naturally for a developer, they will be more confident when they sell on the launch day itself. That's the reason why they increase 5 times on the launch day itself.
And also one of their pattern that we see that they do is they always start pulling people in by giving very low starting prices.
So they will advertise at a very low starting price first, attract people to come in.
But on the launch day itself, when you really see, like when we were there on the launch day, right, the starting price can be very low. But actually the next unit jump is actually about
50 to 100
50 to 100
feet.
Difference in terms of the prices. So this is their strategy that they position themselves when they come to a launch of their development. And another one is because now with that neighbor land bid that did at 1278 PSF, the Guaco land bid, and also if you know Lentora recently transacted another unit at 2670 PSF, our thoughts are that they might not launch that cheap. Maybe they can come up with a very good starting price, maybe 21 to 22, but averagely they should be hitting something that they also want to gain some kind of profit from as well.
Because from developer point of view, I bought quite a good price for my land, and then my neighbor is also bought in at 1,200 per square feet already, and my another neighbor already sold at 2,600 per square feet.
Why would I want to sell cheap?
And how much can I play with?
So like for example in Chuan Park, even from the initial day, the launch day itself, it went up all the way to maybe a very high pricing at the end of the day itself, just on the same day. So why we want to understand all this is because when we know that Kingsford, the way they behave, we can also position ourselves safely when we go to the ballot or when we are buying any unit in Lentor Garden residences, right? Because for example, like some other developers, like maybe Hong Leong, Guaco, actually if you see their track record, they don't really increase price on the day itself.
Even the second day, usually same price.
They'll keep for a certain period of time. After one, maybe they do some adjustment. There are also some developer that from day one all the way to the TOP, they don't even increase a single cent or so. So we want to understand all this because then we know how to buy in a certain development, right? So now let's look at a previous example of what Kingsford did, which is the most recent one, which is Chuan Park. Okay, so now let's look at Chuan Park, the way that they priced their units during the launch itself. If we can see on the launch day, it was 10th of November 2024. So for this example below, we are using a 2-bedroom. On the launch day, 10th of November, it was sold at 2005 PSF, 1.808 million. And just one day after, 11 November, they actually raised their price to 2006 PSF, 1.858, which is a 50,000 increment. So just on a 2-bedroom, you can see clearly they already raised 50,000. So if you come in one day later, you already pay 50,000 more. Or if we put it another way, if you were to book it on the launch day itself, actually you have potentially already gained 50,000. Why? Because this is a lower floor, this is a higher floor. So the lower floor is actually paying 50,000 more than the higher floor. This is just for a 2-bedroom. But for a 3-bedroom, it moves a little bit differently. On the launch day itself, or one day after the launch day, one day after the launch, they are bought at 3.256 for 1815. This is a 3-bedroom. But on February 2026, 1215 is sold at 3.309. This is a lower floor unit and it's also about a 50 over 1,000 difference. And then now, currently available unit 0715, same size, is going at 2007 PSF, 3.36 million, which is much lower floor, but even higher in prices.
This is the current available unit.
That you can buy now today, that is still available. But what we want to really see is that in this example, for a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, even different unit types, developer also price it different way. Why they price it different way is also because they will look at the demand and supply of the certain unit. If, for example, this unit has a lot of demand, sometimes they will price it a bit higher. But when some of the units that are already fully sold, they may not have chance to even price it when the time goes by in terms of the buying phase.
So this is actually how the developer for Kingsford particularly, because this project is done by Kingsford, how they would actually react, how they will price their unit on the first day itself. So if let's say you can come in early, right, and then by the end of the day, you could have profit about $400 to $500 per square feet difference already.
Yeah, so for example, if let's say Lentor Garden, when they launch at maybe say 2001 to 2002 PSF, for example, and at the end of the day, if they really raise 5 times, like what the previous track record they did in Chuan Park, there might be a very high chance that you already potentially sit on a profit just at the end of the day already.
Yes.
So we have to understand this only on the ballot day itself to see how the developer actually priced their unit. And of course, one thing to note is that they don't do it all the way the same. Some developments, they do that. Like for example, in One Marina Garden, if you can see on the launch day, they didn't raise a single price.
They didn't raise.
Why? Also because of the interest level of the project and also whether or not the demand and supply is there, the queue number, the number of checks collected.
But
all these,
overall, actually, they did increase price up till now, since already launched about 1 year plus.
so that also brings to the point that in this developer, there's a tendency that they will
Increase price
along the way,
Yeah.
which also benefits you in terms of your purchase because
You buy
know-
early, developer will help you to stage up the price also.
Yeah. So when you sell, you can sell at a higher price then also.
Okay, so this is our QR code. So please scan us if you want to join our channel.
So if by now, if you have any questions or if you are unsure how does actually Kingsford price their units in terms of the coming Lentor Garden residences, you can scan, you can WhatsApp us, you can join our community. We will answer all your questions and let you know how do you actually position yourself as a buyer into this development itself.
So the biggest question is, what is the price range that we can accept buying into these Lentor Gardens? Right, because how do we determine a safe entry price? Because we come in, depending on your ballot queue number, we would be maybe starting from 2001 per square feet, and then it may go up to as high as maybe 2006 per square feet range.
Maybe 27, 28 also possible.
So we also want to look at, for example, what are the land bid prices and how much the rest of the projects have been selling in the market. So this is the overview of the Lentor projects, their land bid price and their launch date itself.
Okay, so we have summarized all cleanly for you into a table so that you can understand clearly. And the purpose of doing so is to really understand what is the price range that we can enter into Lentor Garden Residences. So now we look at the whole Lentor collection area, from Lentor Modern all the way to Lentor Central Residences. If we can see based on the land prices over here, these are their transacted prices. So the question now we have to ask ourselves, in the first development, Lentor Modern, when it was launched from 2008 to 2005 PSF, if today you are a developer at Lentor Hill, how much do you think will you launch? 2001 or 2006 maybe? Because you have already seen a price that is transacted at 2005 ma. But the question is, if we see Lentor Hill Residences launched at 2008, Hilllock Green 2007, Lentoria 2009, 2001 and then back to 2009 again. So what we want to understand from over here is that in Lentor area, the developers always will tend to go back to a lower starting price.
Because they're also afraid, because when they launch, they also know that other people will have concerns about, is there an oversupply in the area? So the developer also know what the buyers are thinking.
They also worry that here, if I cannot sell, then how? So as a developer, in that situation, they're also a seller. And as a seller, definitely we will also be worried whether or not if I launch too high, can I even move my units?
And they have so many units. They want to move some units on the first day first. Then after that, they will start thinking about how do they stage out the price.
Increase the price, do some adjustment. So this is the first point. The second point we want to bring across is also the land pricing. Because just now we mentioned that, for example, if there's another developer that bought at a higher land price, right, will they be even selling higher or lower. So if we see from this example over here, Hulot Green bought at 1108, their prices are at 17 to about 25 PSF. Where else, Lentor Central 982, they are sold at 1009 to 25. So it doesn't mean that if I buy at a lower land price, I will definitely sell at a lower price. That is why we feel that in Lentor Garden residences, even though Kingsford bought at 920, chances of them selling cheap may not be there also. There is a chance that they can start maybe say 21 to 22, but it will go up from number 21, maybe it will go all the way to about 27 to even 28 TSF. So why we say that if you are able to go in at a very good entry price, for example 2122, potentially on the launch day itself, if they increase the price, you might already be sitting on a 400 to 500 or even 600 PSF in terms of your profit margin. And another key thing we want to highlight to you is like what Joey mentioned just now, is that there is a lot of units in the area that the developer also will be afraid of when they launch their unit. So definitely there's a chance they will start at a very good
entry price.
And another point that we want to bring across is also the new land plot by Guaco Land, right? Because they bought at 1278, you can be very sure that in terms of their land price, they will be looking definitely around 27 to 28 going forward. Am I right to say that? So you have a very good protection because you know that your neighbor have to sell probably around that pricing. Of course, the other one that we want to emphasize is the seller stamp duty. You are over here, which you don't have any competitor from over here. So the beauty about going into Lentor area is that today when you buy a unit at Lentor Garden, you know that there are already transaction prices. You already can be very sure what is the price that you go in is safe. Because for example today, if you are at Lentor Central Residences and you saw a unit at for example 2000 PSF, for example, and you know that maybe say for example Lentor Hill or Hulot Green has already transacted 2004 to 2005.
You feel very safe also because there are transacted price in the area already proven record already.
And someone is willing to buy that price. So if today if you buy at 2000, you want to sell at their pricing because for them they might also want to sell at 26, 27 to make a profit. So for you, you actually have a very safe buffer of maybe 4 to 500 PSF.
So even if you buy in at a 2005 per square feet, I would think that it's still very safe for this location over here.
Of course, in this location, what we say is very safe. But in other locations that you are considering, you must be very clear and understand clearly what is the demand, the pricing, the supply of the location to determine whether or not that PSF is it a safe entry price. Here we have different factors like what we mentioned from the start of the video until now, in terms of the seller stamp duty, in terms of the price range that they're going, in terms of the land plot that's being bought. All this has already strong support information to know that
it has a very huge protection for us already.
Yes, in this location. And the main thing is really the seller stamp duty, which you have very little supply of units
that will come out in the market.
So over here, it's time to scan. If you have any questions, I feel by now you might be a bit confused on how do we actually price a unit in Lentor Garden residences, whether is it 2.1, whether is it 2.5, whether is it even 2.6, can we still buy in? So if you are unsure of whether or not these units or which layout matters to you and whether or not it should be bought, just help us to scan and then you let us know what questions you have, we will answer you promptly.
So actually a lot of times people will be asking, hey, actually for Lentor, is it easy to rent out or not this place?
So I think the main question we have to understand is what is the objective of this purchase when you go into Lentor area. Because what we face is a lot of buyers will be asking us this question like what Joey mentioned, whether if we buy a unit there, can we rent out? But we want to firstly understand whether today we buy into this location, is it for rental purpose? Or is it capital appreciation? Because these two, sometimes it doesn't work together. So like for example, today if you buy a unit in Lentor area, there is a 4 or 5 bedroom for investment. Will you be renting it out at the TOP time?
Likely no lah.
Likely not. So end of the day, I always tell a lot of my buyers is, if today you're buying a 4 or 5 bedroom for investment, and at the point of time when you want to sell, there is still a gap. For example, a 1 year before a seller's stamp duty ends. Normally, I will advise my clients that within this period of time, we have to make sure that we are able to handle the installments, because with this kind of big bedroom type,
they usually want brand new lah. They don't like people got stay in before.
The upkeep of the unit is very important, right? Especially for a buyer that is buying for own stay. The maintenance of the unit is important, and also the rental that you receive may not be a good yield because of the higher purchase price for a bigger unit type as well. So what we want to understand is whether or not the rental yield and the profit, does it make sense in a certain location? So we have 2 examples today. The first one that we are looking at is Uptown at Farrer and Affinity. So first thing we want to see, Uptown at Farrer, you're just 2 minutes walk away from MRT. And Affinity at Serangoon,
34 minutes.
I don't think anybody will walk 34 minutes. But what we want to really understand is in terms of their pricing, in terms of rental and profit. So we broke it down clearly for you guys to see. Between two different 3-bedroom, their purchase date is almost the same. The purchase price also almost the same. So why we want to use all these similar factors is because we want to have a very apple-to-apple comparison so that it's more fair in terms of the data. You can see the sale price is 1.8 versus 1.6. Profit-wise for Affinity is 4.75%, while Uptown is 1.83%.
So the Uptown is nearer to MRT.
So a lot of buyers will definitely say, hey, buy near MRT, very good, right? But if you can see in this situation, their profit is only 1.83 annualized, while their rental is 4.2%. So in terms of rentability, you can see Uptown and Farrer definitely has a stronger rental yield.
Compare with Affinity.
But in terms of the profit-wise, actually Affinity has a higher profit margin as compared to Uptown and Farrer. So why we want to show you this is because for you to really understand that in a certain location, sometimes the rental may not be the best, but the profit can cover a lot more, because in terms of rental, there's also a lot of other costs involved that we can share with you in another video. So the next example that we are looking at is Foret versus Iveria. So Foret is at Bukit Timah area, while Iveria is at River Valley.
This is comparing freehold with freehold.
Both freehold projects.
So Iveria is located in River Valley, which is a high demand tenant area.
And Foret is at Bukit Timah area. More own stay, a bit of tenant as well. So we use the same conditions to do the comparison in terms of the purchase date, the bedroom type, and also the purchase price. And we can see in terms of the profit and the rental yield, the profit Foret is 3.86% per year, while the yield of the rental is 2.5%. Versus Iveria, the profit is only 1.66% versus a rental yield of 3.2%. So clearly we can really see that Iveria
has got a better rental yield as compared to Foret.
But end of the day, the profit still sits a lot on the Foret side. So by showing you this example, what we want to clearly bring across is that if today you are buying for a rental purpose, you want to have a good rental, you want to have high supply of tenants in and out your project, you can straight away go for this kind of location. But if today in Lentor area,
usually people buy for capital appreciation.
So end of the day, if we know that Lentor is an area that we are buying more for capital appreciation, we have to understand clearly, maybe the rentability in the site is not as good.
May not be as good.
But if you are able to get a good unit, like for example, in terms of what we mentioned, the developer launch price, the way that they position their pricing strategy, you can already sit on a very healthy profit, maybe even on the launch date itself. More importantly is to really understand what are the unit types that you can go into and which are the bedroom types that you can benefit in terms of selling to an own stay buyer or selling to an investor going forward.
So actually buying property, there's a lot of things to look at and a lot of attributes that we need to see. So we have summarized whether the 7th plot, whether we can buy or not, because of really the SSD difference in the timing. There's 2 years different. There will not be any new supply in the middle.
So this really helps you to already time your sale in terms of a purchase at Lentor Garden Residences, because you don't need to worry that there will be too many competition of other unit types that is going to affect your sale price as well. In fact, the ones that are left over, which is the higher price units that we mentioned just now, can actually help you push up your prices in terms of the selling, and you might even let go faster than these people. Next is, of course, the way the developer actually behave in a certain development. So for example, in this case, the Kingsford, what we mentioned, of course, we have no idea until now how would they do it. But we will have a very clear picture once it's nearing towards the booking date itself. So it's very important to understand all this clearly, so that when you're at the booking day, you know how to react to a certain situation on the way they price their units, whether or not should you carry on with the unit or whether or not should you just forfeit the unit they're looking into. But based on just now the prices that we mentioned over here, in terms of the entry price, even at 2425, you are very safe to enter because
they're already transacted at 2728 per square feet.
Number one, transacted prices. Number two, because of the neighboring plot that definitely will have a range that they have to launch because they are bought in at
1,002 per square feet,
which is about 300 more than the one at Kingsford, right? And of course, last but not least, is whether today you have to really understand, are you buying in for rental or you buying in for appreciation? If today your focus is on rental, then look at a project that gives you high rental. But if today you're looking at a capital upside place, then Lentor is somewhere that you might be able to consider. But more importantly is to understand what are the different layouts, what are the different units that are available in the Lentor Garden Residences, because from what we understand, the 2-bedroom itself already have 50% and a very different layout and sizes in the whole development. But with all these different sizes, the layout everyone is very different. So you have to understand which one works best for you and make sure that your purchase is safe so that you can exit safely in future as well. Okay, so with that, we end our analysis for Lentor Garden residences today. If you have any questions that you're unsure of, like in terms of the layout or how to spot a unit or whether or not today the prices that you go in, is it safe, do just drop us a WhatsApp or just join our Telegram community so that we can always update you with latest information.
If you would like to arrange a viewing when it's open for preview, do get in touch with us together as well.
More importantly is to really understand the whole situation there first before even deciding whether should you or should you not go into Lentor Garden residences. Okay, so with that, my name is Dylan.
My name is Joey.
See you soon.
Bye.